we went for a trip, like a class trip in my school in India, and we were on a train for like 2 days, so we had nothing to do. So that's when I got introduced to Indian comics, especially this one called Shaktiman, which it's pretty fun.
A little bit in college. I started reading some superhero stuff and some indie stuff.
The class was called Understanding Comics. I took it with Professor Horowitz. It was pretty much a communication class. We learned how to convey messages and how to interpret messages through comic books instead of the regular mediums.
I think probably a movie was put out, and then I heard that, hey, it's based on a comic book or a graphic novel. And then I went to a bookstore or something and checked it out and said, oh, there's thousands of these things. Yeah. And I was looking at some looked pretty cool, so I looked into them too.
So it just kind of started out from there. I didn't really start getting into comics until I started working here. Civil War had just come out, and that was like my big introduction to superheroes.
And I think that's just how I got into the general field. Generally, I like Marvel better, and I find that's the case with a lot of people. Now, of course, there's some DC characters that I like, but DC, there's a lot of DC characters that I'm not really a fan of.
The core of DC is rooted in its golden age pretty much, so it's like Superman, Batman, Green Lantern. Those are all the titles that are going strong pretty well. Flash too.
I'm not saying that I don't like DC. It probably has my favorite villain, the Joker.
So that's them. Marvel is all Spider-Man, X-Men, Captain America, more modern age heroes. Yeah.
The first series I bought was Deadpool.
Cool.
That was after X-Men Origins, and his popularity shot up even though they portrayed him really badly in the movie. He's probably the most recognized intentionally comedic character in Marvel. Like, his comics are intended to be funny. He's kind of his own thing, frankly. He's classified as a mercenary, so most people hate him just because he's incredibly annoying. They'll work with him, they just hate him. But there's been a recent story arc where he's actively trying to be recognized as a hero. Like, he has a whole dialogue with Spider-Man about what it means to be a hero. Spider-Man says to him something to the effect of, no, you don't want to be a hero, you want the credit for being a hero, and that's not the same thing. So then he swings away, and Deadpool's like, yeah, it is. I think the first line Deadpool utters as Deadpool is, Wade Wilson is dead, just call me Deadpool. The whole thing is examining the idea of a man losing his identity as a man and just becoming a character.
I actually like Thor a lot. I like the power of Thor is given to him as he finds his hammer. So I don't know. I've always really liked that character. I think that's an interesting dynamic to set up for a character, something like that. I have no idea how they're going to do this in the movie. The way I've interpreted it is that Thor and all of the Asgardians in the film are aliens with advanced technology, so they appear as gods to us.
The idea of a superpower is having an idea of having an escape. Something that you think you have but you never will. Something you want to have that you can imagine. Take you to their place in your imagination. Something like that. Have your superpowers.
Going off that, I think that's why Batman became so famous and so popular, and
easy to relate to.
Yeah,
he didn't have any actual superpowers.
Yeah, he just had a lot of money.
Which might as well be a superpower.
Yeah, but essentially he's a mortal human being.
Batman is one of my favorite superheroes.
Yeah, I like Batman actually a lot. I've read Batman for a long time. When Bob Wing first came up with the Batman character, Dick Tracy was huge, and he looked at Dick Tracy and was like, I want to do something exactly like that. Some of the Dick Tracy villains are people like, No Face or Flat Top, whatever. They all have names like that, and they have their own specific characteristics. So that's where you get things like the Penguin, the Joker, kind of these gimmicky crime villains that are basically rip-offs of what Dick Tracy was doing. It makes them kind of relatable. It makes them identifiable, and it's something that's that people have held on to, you know, since its inception.
No, you are Bruce Wayne.
Batman always has a plan for something. Like he's thought of every possible outcome that could possibly happen, and he's prepared for it. So that's a lot of fun. That's pretty cool.
But would it be unethical if someone had superpowers and didn't use them to save people?
What do you think?
It's up to the person with the superpower. The Dark Knight Returns, I think, the comic where Superman has become like this tool of the government that is just constantly going out and fighting the government's battles, and he never does anything for himself. So I figure if I was to actually have a superpower, I'd probably feel the same way. If that's what they're trying to do to me, no, I wouldn't help everybody. And you can't help everybody.
There's this whole overworld and underworld dynamic that's always existed in science fiction. So it's just always been a part of its heritage.
Oftentimes the persona completely takes over the evil character, especially in the Joker. Like, Batman still has no idea what he was before the Joker. He's just so distanced from reality, and he has no identity but the Joker. And then the idea that Batman is taking over Bruce Wayne is constantly toyed with.
I like the Joker. I like a lot of the Batman villains. I like the Red Skull, I like the Captain America villains. I abstractly, I guess, like Thanos. He's sort of this intergalactic, iconoclastic supervillain, just destroyer of civilizations. He's pretty cool.
Gotham, where so many superheroes live, masks, capes, and secret identities aren't just for the comics or the movies anymore.
Well, it is a story that's become an internet sensation. He walks our streets wearing a mask and even a cape.
They are mere mortals, but these Cape Crusaders take the job of saving the day very seriously.
The real-life superhero moniker applies to anybody who takes a unique persona and goes out there and tries to do good in the world.
And he's not alone.
With a website and PR campaign, they also encourage community service.
I got everything you need.
They feed the hungry, help the homeless, and try to make citizens feel safer.
Allegiance assemble!
Across the globe and around this country, teams of do-gooders are suiting up, hoping to make a difference. Superheroes Anonymous says that 200 could be protecting a neighborhood near you.
Batman, the main comic, actually, they're taking it in a direction where it's something called Batman Incorporated, so that every country has its own Batman, and it's publicly funded by Bruce Wayne. A lot of these comic characters, they have superpowers and things like that on their side. Even the ones that don't have, you know, absurd advantages. But in terms of them actually doing it, I think it's incredibly dangerous, and it is illegal.
As for how legal all this is, citizens' arrests are allowed in Ohio and Kentucky for felonies and some misdemeanors.
So I can't say I support that sort of thing. As to why they do it, I honestly couldn't tell you.
Ideal superpower.
To fly.
Be flying? That would be the superpower?
You know, some guy in a cape flying all around, shooting things with lasers from his eyes.
Yeah, but I can fly as well.
To be like a jumper, so I could go between place to place.
What's the word when you like go from like one place to another? Teleporting.
Teleportation.
Teleportation.
I know what this guy's would be for sure. This guy's probably mind control, some evil like that.
Probably to be control minds. To read people's
Yeah, I was gonna say telekinesis.
I'd want to go invisible whenever I wanted to. To steal other people's identities and transform my body into their image.
Walking through walls just strikes me as interesting.
I think that if I could have the answer to every question that I asked, that would be best. Why?
Flying sort of makes sense. Flying sort of, it does make sense, but it's easier to imagine. I mean,
if you can fly, pick a girl up on a Friday night. How are we getting there? Who's our DD? Oh, you're a DF tonight. I'll be your designated flyer.
Do all sort of crazy stuff with all my identities.
Just like snap and be somewhere wherever you want to be.
I hate flying and I hate driving, and so it just make my life a lot easier.
I love seeing foreign places and traveling, and that would be the most ideal way of traveling.
Do what the jumper did. Get rich and go anywhere I want.
It completely defies the physical world in terms of boundaries.
Just so I can sneak up on people, play a lot of good pranks and stuff like that.
Like, know what's going on in your brain, and like put my thoughts in your brain.
I would tell you what to do and you would do it.
And make you like manipulate your brain, do nasty stuff, and good stuff too, and all sorts of stuff to my convenience. This is so awkward.
For the simple fact that with that you can do everything. Like you can control everything around you. Like you can make yourself fly. You can do everything. So in telekinesis you have mind control. Like I can wreck shit. Fucking superpower.
So yeah, that's my dream, but it's impossible to get.
You'd have to be good. This guy would start off good and then slowly fall into evil ways and turn into a supervillain. The biggest supervillain to ever live would be this guy. And I'd be the only one left to try and stop him. That's what would happen. That would be our luck. I get stuck with this kid and he's a supervillain. That's what would happen. That's exactly what would happen.
We have what, 6 billion people, 7 billion people?
People have superpowers. People have
I'm
super
sure
strength.
people
Absolutely.
come with like
Strange vision. Strange
like
vision.
I'm sure like has to be at this point. Like,
imagine
like there was that TV show on it. Like what is it?
Heroes.
Yeah, Heroes. Like things like that. Like why not? It could so very well be possible.
There's so many things we don't know about also.
So it's
Who
huge.
knows?
Like we keep
Who knows?
fooling ourselves saying it's a small world, but there could be anything there.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you. And may the force be with you.
Wow! That was good. That was great. Let's have the victory one now.